Alrighty, so I watched Superman last night at AMC, and shockingly, so there's a movie theater here in Oklahoma City called Flicks Brew House. That's usually where I try to go to watch movies. It's just nicer enough where you usually don't have to deal with like bad crowds or annoying people. But they were fully sold out, so I was like, okay, well AMC's the only spot I can find with four available seats. And so we went to AMC, and I go to AMC sparingly. I honestly hate AMC. I think their theaters are disgusting. I think they're gross. I feel like I was sitting in the same seats I sat in 17 years ago when I was a high schooler. So yeah, they're also so small that I'm sitting here next to my friends, and it's like shoulder to shoulder, and you're just like, wow, this is great. I love this. The main benefit I can give AMC is the sound system was insanely good, almost like ear destroying good. I mean, it was so loud. I was shocked that we weren't in like a 40x or IMAX or whatever. This was just the standard, you know, showing, and it was really well. So I'll give him props for that. And so, one thing I'll say about AMC before I get into the movie, they're rolling out like 30 minutes of ads now. And here's what's crazy. I mean, I haven't been able to really tolerate it in a while, but it used to just be ads, trailers, movie. Now it's ads, trailer, ad. I couldn't believe I was seeing it in real time. Basically, I just want to give a big middle finger to movie theaters that do that, because again, I can go to a place like it's like Flicks Brew House. It's kind of like Alamo Draft House from what I've seen, and they don't even have that many ads. Jesus, AMC, can you chill with the ads, man? God. But on to Superman itself. So for some context, I used to love Man of Steel a lot. As I've gotten older, I actually rewatched it a year ago, and I kind of came to the realization that it's not as good as I remember. I don't mind, because Zack Snyder's Justice League, I love that movie. I think it's great. Batman vs Superman Ultimate Edition, I think it's pretty good too. But when it came to Man of Steel, rewatching it, I was just like, I don't know. It seems overly drawn out, just too, not necessarily depressing, but just bleak. Michael Shannon as Zod is always going to be my favorite thing about that movie. Um, I don't know. I rewatched it, I was like, meh. And so, it's not one of those things where I'm, oh my God, it's not Zack Snyder's Superman. But I'm also, not like, it has to be different from Zack Snyder's Superman. Because I liked Superman from what I saw in, Zack Snyder's Justice League when he comes back from the dead. So going into this, I knew to expect it's something different, because I've never seen the Christopher Reeve Superman stuff. The first Superman movie I saw was Superman Returns with Brandon Routh. I thought that movie was okay. I think a lot of people hated it, and so this Superman movie, I didn't really have too many expectations. Honestly, I was the most excited to see Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, because I love the Green Lantern stuff. I'm excited for the show. I'm glad that he'll be on there with Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. So I'm excited for that. But as you watch it, it's like, wow, okay, yeah, this is a great Superman. All the characters are great. They they don't waste any time with that, oh, that's 30 minutes of the movie, or first hour needs to be an origin story for Superman. No, no, no. This is already like Superman year 1. And right from the beginning seconds of the movie, it's you know, it's just telling you real quick, hey, metahumans have been around for a while now. This Superman, blah blah blah, bam, throws you in the movie. You're basically just thrown into the end of a fight scene, and it just boom, boom, boom. Something about this movie, I just praise is it never felt overly long or filler. And then, surprisingly, you have Superman, Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific, Guy Gardner, Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen. All of them have like little things to do, and it never felt like, oh my, why am I seeing this in a Superman movie? No, because they're all working towards the same goal as Superman. And weirdly, even though they're all given time, it never felt like, okay, why are we focused on this too much? Where's Superman? Everything melded together so great. And that's something I'll give James Gunn praise for is Guardians of the Galaxy. He did a phenomenal job. I'm not the biggest fan of Guardians 2, but I like Guardians 1 and 3. Suicide Squad, he did an amazing job. Creature Commandos, he helped with, if not directed. And I like Creature Commandos. So, he's so good at making content with multiple characters and it not being too crazy or too much. And so, this is basically a year one Superman. You get so much backstory and just hints of other little things, but it doesn't feel forced or lingers too much because you get a scene of him with Ma Kent, Pa Kent, the Fortress of Solitude. You see the message from Jor-El and his mom, arc with Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen, Perry, the Daily Planet boss. It's crazy that it just works. I mean, just so I don't linger too much, I guess, on the positives, let me go through the negatives real quick. Maybe it was due to the sound in the theater, but there is a villain, the engineer, this woman who basically has nanomachines in her body and can transform into whatever she imagines. She has a accent, and so they have parts where they're in a fight or whatever. There's music, there's punching noises, whatever, and she's saying stuff, and I'm like I don't know what she's saying. And there were a couple more scenes of in general people talking while there was music and action happening, and I was like, maybe I'm just really deaf, but I can't really hear what they're saying, but I can hear the all that. So that happened probably 3 times. One of the main villains was extremely predictable to me. I was like, okay, it's one of two things. I'm not going to say what either one of those things are, but basically the villain Ultraman, just, I think when you first see Ultraman, you're going to probably be able to figure it out pretty quick. Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor was great. He encapsulated egotistical, rich, just little crybaby bitch boy, where he's trying to act all cool and bossy by making people do the most minuscule things, just to show he's in charge. And then in front of Superman, he's just a little crybaby. Eventually, of course he thinks he's an egotistical, cool guy at first. But I loved I mean, maybe my expectations weren't high enough for this movie or something, but it felt so refreshing. And when I say it's not like a Marvel movie, I understand this is not a Marvel movie. I'm saying I've been so sick of Marvel movies, especially. It's the most cookie cutter, just corporate, stupid stuff. I'm not even here to say like, oh, the agenda, blah, blah, blah. Not even that. I literally, like, the quality of the writing, everything is just terrible. The last Marvel movie I think I enjoyed was Guardians 3, which was by James Gunn. And so it was nice to watch a superhero movie that's not just, we got to undercut serious moment with joke. Get it? Get it? Ha ha, hee hee. You can have your serious moments, and then, 5 minutes later, there's a different scene. Okay, bring the humor, ease people back into it. Because this movie has some incredibly dark things that happen, where it is like, whew, man, that's pretty crazy if a little kid saw that. But there, I can think of one scene. It's kind of in the trailer. It's Lois Lane talking to Superman while the Justice Society is fighting an alien in the background. And so the joke is kind of set up initially in the beginning where like they're trying to have a serious conversation and they just kind of pan over and go, "Oh man, looks like they're in trouble," and you kind of chuckle. But then it's still there in the background, but they slowly, kind of get it out of the frame and zoom closer and closer into Superman and Lois Lane so that you can understand it was like a slight joke, but okay, we're not going to just keep this a running gag, so we're going to, small the frame, make it more personal, make it more close. And so, okay, the joke was there, it's done, there you go. And it's just fresh in a sense. I think when you've just had enough shit for so long, things being even remotely different, you go, "Oh my god, this is wonderful." The CGI wasn't too bad. Honestly, Crypto, the CGI, there were some parts where, you're going, "Okay, that's a CGI dog." Other parts just look like a real dog to me. And most of the CGI, I'd say, was pretty cool. Wasn't too jarring or weird. Some of the panning city shots looked incredibly CGI. It is what it is. I'm not gonna sit here and overly nitpick like the building in the background doesn't look real. It's just something I noticed. The soundtrack, great. Cinematography, great. Although James Gunn seems to love his superhero close-up shot when they're flying. I love the scenes of Superman flying around real fast, and you could see all the different environments he's flying through. There were some scenes where they zoomed in on his face and it looked a little goofy. One area where it wasn't really goofy is he's flying so fast that you can see, water go on his face from the ocean for a split second, and then it dries off, and he's going through the ice and going underground. So there were just cool things like that. And it was so nice to see in a Superman movie because people always go, how do you make a Superman movie when he's invincible, he's God basically, blah 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 blah. Well, even Superman can get his ass beat, and right in the beginning you see he's getting his ass beat. He gets his ass beat a lot in this movie, and I'm fine with that because as invincible as Superman is, and basically the whole point they're trying to prove in the movie is even though he seems like an invincible alien god, he's grew up with humans. He is by spirit, human. He has emotions, he has wants and needs and desires, and has bad days, good days. But people look at him as he's supposed to be this perfect symbol of hope. And so, it was so nice to see the humanized aspect of Superman, where he's getting his ass beat. People are screaming, arguing with him on semantics and should he have done this and that, and should he be, basically an errand boy for the U.S. government. And when he's being interviewed by Lois Lane, which you see in the trailer, she's basically calling him out like, so you didn't talk to the president of the United States or whatever, you just went to this conflict and chose what you decided was right because what you think is the right thing to do. And he's like, I'm on no one's side. All I care about is saving people. If it means I can save people, I don't give a shit. And so there's the main conflict in the movie, which is this one country is trying to basically erase another country's people. And you see it was happened off screen, but Superman had gone there, basically told the oppressing country, don't do this or I'm gonna come back. And so while he's being interviewed, she's like, you're basically threatening people to keep them in line. He's like, I'm not necessarily threatening to kill them, I'm just gonna blow up like their military infrastructures and blah blah blah. And they're like, well, who are you to decide? And he's like, I'm not on America's side either. I'm on the side of making sure people aren't being killed. That's it. And it was just so nice to see. When people say this feels too cartoony or whatever, I get it, but I don't inherently see the problem in that. Because I have all of the DC New 52 animated movies. I have them all, the whole DVD collection. I think those are some of the best DC media ever. And I remember watching the Superman movies, and it was great. You have a humanized Superman, and even the death of Superman, when you get to see the reactions of so many people who were impacted by Superman in the slightest way. And in this movie, you get to see that. Superman saved this guy's life, this food vendor, so he gives Superman free falafels for life. And you get to see how, like, he cares about when Superman gets injured in the city. You know, he happens to be nearby that guy, and he runs over and is the first to try to, you know, help Superman no matter what. And so it was good. I was shocked going in that I would care so much about Superman, and they did a good job. Same with Guy Gardner. They made him a huge asshole, which is great. Getting to see his Green Lantern powers, phenomenal. Hawk Girl, I mean, you know, crazy OP. And unlike Superman, I mean, you do see her kill people. So, Mr. Terrific, fantastic. That actor, I think it's the guy that played Darwin in X-Men Origins. X-Men First Class. He's I don't want to say it because it's cringe, but he's a fantastic Mr. Terrific. And they actually gave him quite a bit of screen time. And he even gets his own kind of like scene, which was good. It's just all around good. Again, I went to the movie thinking I would probably enjoy it, but be kind of like, eh. And I walked out going, that was so good, I'm going to buy it on Blu-ray. I'd probably go watch it again, you know, in a week or two. I don't mind. It was good. There's really nothing more I can say. I would 100% go watch it. I think if you have kids under 12, I would be hesitant, you know, maybe. I mean, in the end, do whatever you want, I guess. There's one scene, it's so funny, because it's like a hardcore makeout scene. I mean, like, you know, getting thrown on the counter and, you know, going at it. And I was like, aren't there like kids here? Like, damn, this is pretty hardcore. And there's like, you know, a scene of someone being executed. And so I could imagine if you take your like 8-year-old, potentially, you know, it might be like, oh my god, what's happening? Why didn't Superman save him? So just be mindful of that. But yeah, I reviewed it on Letterboxd as well. I'll link it here in the video. But man, good movie. Good movie. Highly recommend. Maybe go on like a matinee showing or something so you're not with a crowd of people, because surprise, surprise, even though there wasn't that many people in my theater, this person decided to bring their newborn baby, and every time it got quiet, you would just hear the, you know, the baby started crying, and I was like, you know, I'm just saying, like, probably not the best idea to bring your newborn baby to a, you know, Friday night showing in a movie, but whatever, I guess. Not a bad movie. That's going to be it for me. I'm out. And as always, thank you for watching.